My name's Tim Coles. I'm the author of President Trump, Inc. So the central message of President Trump, Inc. is that while Trump portrayed himself as a rebel who did not need to be bought out by the special interests because he has so much money of his own, it's actually these so-called special interests, the big banks, the financial institutions, manufacturing, the tech industry. They want to change the American economy in the sense of having more American companies come back to America in order to avoid taxes. Previously, American companies had offshored in order to avoid paying American taxes. They had actually been lobbying Congress for many years to cut taxes, and that's what's happening. It's the same with migration. These companies do not want their tax money to go into paying for migrants who, in their opinion, are going to exploit the system. Rather, they want sort of middle-class, higher-skilled migrants. So this is what these companies had been lobbying for all along, and President Trump is merely following this. He's not doing anything radical, unlike what he claims. The other theme of the book is that this whole agenda is broadly defined as neoliberalism, economic neoliberalism. Now that means essentially privatizing resources, giving huge tax breaks for the rich, and also deregulating financial markets. This has terrible effects politically because centrist parties like the Republicans and the Democrats, they lose credibility. The number of people that come out to vote has declined in recent years, and this has created a vacuum which the far right has filled. People like Trump. In Europe, it's the UKIP, UK Independence Party. In France, it's Le Pen. So as people lose their livelihoods and their savings, they look to these radicals, supposedly, who in order to save them. So this neoliberal agenda has very dangerous political consequences, and it also affects people's personal livelihoods. So the far right in Europe and the alt-right in America, which is essentially the same thing, they have an underlying agenda, which is to cut taxes for the rich, for the mega-rich, and for very wealthy corporations. The pretext for this, in order to win votes, is to simply blame vulnerable people, blame economic migrants, blame refugees, blame Muslims. These are the shared features of Trump and also some of the European far-right parties. Their agenda is to continue to pursue neoliberalism, but to conceal this with hateful rhetoric in order to win a sizable minority of voters, because there's been a gap in the amount of people that are voting for centrist parties. The real Trump agenda is to destroy Social Security, to weaken healthcare, and to give companies like Goldman Sachs even more power over every economic aspect of America and thus the world. America has such a large economy that whenever there's a crisis in America, it reverberates. Trump himself is a billionaire, and this is the wealthiest administration in US history. And so this is a class war. And in fact, the investor Warren Buffett, who's worth about $60 billion, although he supports Hillary Clinton, he said, "My class is winning in the class war." So whether it's Democrat, Republican, far right, the agenda is the same: to give more power to the wealthy and to take power away from working people and the middle class. What we can do to counter the Trump agenda is to get more involved politically, to start pressing centrist parties to become more progressive, and also to start educating people that the real culprits here are not vulnerable people like welfare recipients and migrants. The real culprits are neoliberalists, free marketeers, the big financial institutions,